Thank you for coming. I'm Dr. Heather Steinman, and I'm with the class Humanities 176, Applied Liberal Arts and Sciences, and they're going to read some stories today from a class at Bashkir State University in Ufa, Russia. So this project is taking place under the guidance of the Transatlantic and Pacific Project, or TAP as it's called. The TAP project was started in 1999 by professors in the US and Belgium, and the mission statement of TAP reads like this. TAP's main aim is to share insights into collaborative writing across borders and cultures, and in the course of this work, to gain knowledge of others' cultural bases. The TAP project works independently of universities so that individual instructors and students can have control over their own work, which fits very well into this unit that we are talking about the social contract. I've worked with Dr. Ruslan Sadwov at Bashkir State University. There's where we are. There's where they are, and we're pretty far away. I've worked with Dr. Sadwov at Bashkir State University in Ufa, Russia for several years now, linking our classes. And we've found that of all the projects that we've done, students sharing their stories with each other in this multilateral way has been one of the more successful projects for us. It's simple, it gives students the power to tell their own stories, and sometimes through their stories they become friends. So, thank you.
My name is Safa, and I'm going to be reading a story by... Some social contracts play a very important role in my life. Maybe it is a sad story, but it is very important to me and my family. The story began when I was 7. My father was a prosecutor in a local government. He was a loving parent and he was an incredible person, but something was happening to his health. And once when he was on his way home, he had a terrible car accident and he passed in 4 days. It was the hardest time for my family. We were heartbroken in some social contracts, and our strengths helped us in particular time. In our country, wives and children who lost their breadwinner get some help from the people, from the government, and our family wasn't an expectation. We got so much help from different people. They always tried hard not to hurt our feelings and give us moral help. Government gave us money, and they still give them. And with the help of this money, I can study where I'm studying now. For me, the social contract is very useful in modern reality, and there are many other great and fair social contracts. For example, give some personal convenience to help other people, give your seat to a pregnant woman or elders in the metro, be respectful for old people or your teacher and your classmates, always wait your turn to buy something or get medical help, because everybody is equal. But there are some social contracts which is not good as the ones that were mentioned before. In Russia, the most part of the society thinks in stereotypic way, and they judge people who doesn't fit in their stereotypes. For example, some girls don't want to have children, but the society says, you are a woman and you must have children. Or some vegetarians are criticized by people, how can you never eat meat? It's so weird. Also, Russians don't support an euthanasia. I think it's totally wrong, because some people who suffer from Alzheimer's disease or from other serious disease can't do anything about their health, because modern medicine can't offer good treatment for these diseases, and their lives turn into a nightmare. I think all of these people can decide what should they do with their lives, but the stereotypes of cruelty of this procedure can be overcome. It is very sad and unfair, but all of these bad social contracts incomparable with the benefits of fair social contracts of what we have now.
Okay, my name is Joseph Benavides, and I'm reading a story by Dimitri. It's no secret that the social contract plays an important role in our lives, but it is true for all human beings, absolutely. According to Jean-Jacques, man is born free but is everywhere in chains. Despite the degree of social responsibility of each individual, it goes with us through the whole life. We are all born in society, thus we are all time dependent on it. Dependence is expressed in that each side of the contract ought to give part of their liberties for healthy functioning of these agreements. In other words, to play their social roles properly. Take as an example me and the state. I, as a law-abiding citizen, must pay my taxes, must abide by the law, I must protect my homeland in the event of an external threat. But do I want it all? I will not be asked about it. And all of this because I have to? If I gave up my duties, I would sooner or later find myself behind bars. I would be deprived of contact with my friends and relatives, but what do I get by doing all my duties? Low crime rate, state assistance, medical care, retirement, etc. What a sweet fairy tale, isn't it? One thing doesn't suit me, the absence of choice. Previous generations have predetermined in what way I should live. As I said, I am directly connected with society, and I have to play certain roles. Otherwise, I will be exiled. As a second example, it is possible to take my relationship with friends and relatives. Of course, we have a social contract that we must adhere to. Since we call ourselves friends, we must help each other at any moment, regardless of life circumstances. That is, we sacrifice our free time and our desires. This is required by a contract. And each of us want to be a great friend. We accept society's reward in return. Maybe just words of gratitude. Anyway, it's worth it. From the moment I was born, an unwritten contract was signed by me and my mother. By fulfilling the contract, we agreed that we were giving away some of our freedoms and vital energy for the better quality of life of both of us. That's what a social contract really is. It is difficult to overestimate its impact on the modern situation in the world. Without it, it would have been impossible to build a fully fledged civil society.
Hi, my name is Jody, and I will be reading a story by Tatiana. There was a time when social contract happened in my life. It was a search at the airport at the TSA X-ray. At the airport, there was a terrible scream, and it was clear that there was conflict with one of the airport employees and passenger. For security reasons, before a check at the airport, the passenger refused all of this and demanded to let him with huge bags on the plane. As a result, he was refused, continued to resent and complain about the government and the set laws, creating a queue for the landing. Many passengers were late and wanted to get on the plane as quickly as possible. Many people did not even go through the check-in and check-in desk. Neglecting the safety measures, the passenger continued to curse at the airport employees, switching to personal insults. Many passengers began to resent because of a man. The airport turned into a mess. The man did not want to comply with the social contract like all other passengers. He said that the airport employees violate his comfort and his personal space with a search, but sometimes you need to sacrifice your comfort for the sake of their safety and the safety of other people who sacrifice their comfort for themselves and other people. Further, the man realized his mistake when the security came and ordered him to leave the airport if he did not calm down. As a result, the man apologized to the crowd of people, apologized to the airport workers, and allowed to conduct a search at the airport to avoid problems with the law and the people in the queue. The man realized that he was unfair to the other passengers and airport workers. Justice is more than a simple obedience of law, but it does nonetheless include obedience to the state and the laws that sustain it. After that, we boarded the plane and began to pick up speed and take off. The girl started screaming and asking her mother to stop the plane because she was afraid. Her mom began to calm her down, but the girl started a panic attack and she continued to hysteria. People began to turn around and swear at the girl's mother so that she would quickly calm her down and people could go about their business in silence. The stewardess offered the girl water and asked to calm down because she was causing panic to the others. One man realized that it would not end and tried to distract the girl so that she would stop panicking. Soon the man was able to calm her down and many passengers were happy and grateful for that. But the man said that you need to be loyal to people and do not disturb the comfort of each person. The responsibility of airport employees is to ensure comfort and safety of passengers inside the aircraft. This means that it's not the girl who became ill, but the workers who didn't offer first aid for the panic attack. It was a child's unstable psyche that can be stopped with a glass of water, thereby breaking the social contract.
Hi, my name is Riley Brabson, and I am going to be reading a story by Diana. We all live in society, so there are many examples of social contract around us. For example, we all want to live in a comfortable, clean, and cozy home. And we try to provide good conditions not only for ourselves, but for members of our family as well, as they try to provide these conditions for us. We are trying together at the university. We all treat each other with respect, listen when one person speaks, listen to the teachers, help each other with tasks if there are any questions. We help a person if we see that he needs help. A tall man helps a woman to get something from the top shelf in the store, and so on. As for me, I live in the dorm, since I came from another city and my house is far away. At the beginning of the year, I met my new roommate, and together we began to transform our room. We made this place from an empty and dusty room into a cozy room in which it is nice to be. We worked on the room together. We also continue to maintain cleanliness together, not even agreeing whose turn it is to clean up now. We just do it. We often cook together too and buy food together. Sometimes we go together, sometimes we buy what we need separately. There are also many students living in the dorm, and everyone tries to not be too loud and follow the rules, because everyone knows that living in comfort depends on each of us. But last year, in another university's dorm, there was a situation when, because of two people, all the students had to suffer. These two students were smoking cigarettes in their dorm room, and they probably forgot that there was a fire alarm. So when their room was full with smoke, the fire alarm turned on, and they all had to go outside and lay on them. Of course, it was cold outside. Another example is not about compliance of social contract too. Once I was traveling by the train, and a family with two small children was there too. The children were noisy all the time. Their conversations and quarrels were heard by the whole train, not just by me. They also were running all over the train, but their parents not only did not try to calm their children, they also talked loudly and argued. Riding in such conditions was not very convenient for anyone.
Hi, my name is Megan, and I will be reading a story from Vlad. Social contract influence our life a lot. We have rules which we must obey in our everyday life. For example, an employee of a fast food restaurant is not allowed to criticize the food he cooks there or talk about his manager with his customers. Otherwise, he will be fired. Sometimes we can avoid the rules it describes, but doing that may not give a benefit at all. One day, social contract played a role in my life. I can't forget it. 3 years ago, I was preparing for exams which could change my life. One day, we were asked to pick subjects to take an exam. I picked English and social studies. I was not able to pick them, but I wanted to do so. Then I started preparing. I was doing lots of exercises, reading lots of lectures, and had to attend classes where we were practicing a lot. It was the hardest time of my life. A half of the year passed. The day of the first exam has come. We had been told before that we could choose to go, but we wouldn't get points and it might have problems. I decided to take it. It was hard, but I did it. After passing all the exams, we were informed about our results. After taking all these exams, I was completely exhausted. I wanted only to do my hobbies and no more else. Unfortunately, I had more difficulties after passing exams. I had to apply for every university. I couldn't apply for free education because there were tons of people who had very high sum of points achieved during the exams. So I don't regret that I hadn't got high amount of points. I currently believe that I'm on the right track now. I will do my best to achieve my goals. Social contract helped me to get into the university. I have some good friends now and started learning German, which I really like. The situation helped me to understand the importance of social contract and its benefits for society members.
my name is Luis, and I'll be reading a story by Diana. The social contract theory says that people live together in society in accordance with an agreement that establishes moral and political rules of behavior. Some people believe that if we live according to a social contract, we can live morally by our own choice and not because a divine being requires it. Of course, it's not a secret that the social contract being a meaningful part of modern life. As for me, there was some period in my life where I faced the problems with adaptation in new society. All my childhood I spent in the capital of Russia, in Moscow. I love this place so much, and I suppose that it is the best town in the world. Every day there was like a holiday, but it didn't last long. When I was 8, my mother said that we could go to another city, and it is rather far from Moscow, and much smaller. It was the worst day in my life. By the way, I was in 2nd grade. I believe that every child who knows how difficult to adapt to a new school will understand me, especially if it's absolutely another society with another opinions, another views. I could say that children here are angrier and very inhospitable. Moreover, my parents had to divorce in general. This was the reason for the move. I have not got any support from my mom or my dad or any friends because my parents were so busy with their own relationships and all my friends stayed in Moscow. The new classmates did not want to include me in their team and just laughed and joked. I don't think that the 8-year-old children can be in depression, but I exactly can say that it was very sad and hard time in my life. Children in such age may be very aggressive, but often they don't really understand that their actions can lead to serious consequences, just to offend anyone, but everything is okay. And we are all good friends now. Also, when I was at 8th grade, I started to live alone because my mom had to return to Moscow. She had a very good job there, and Dad had to go all over the country to expand his business. I should say that I am still living alone, and it's absolutely non-problematic for me, and even more comfortable. Indeed, regardless of whether social contracts are explicit or implicit, they provide a valuable framework for harmony in society.
Hello, my name is Francisca, and I'll be reading the story of Olesia Kazakova. Social contract is very important in everyone's life. It can either be positive or negative. A social contract implies a choice in a person's life to stand in the way of justice or to take a side with lies, envy, or hypocrisy. In 1937, before the Great Patriotic War, my grandmother's relatives were repressed in Siberia. That was a difficult time for all of Russia's people because of the post-revolutionary time, ruin, and the hunger in the country. When Stalin came to power, repression continued. At that time, people were either shot or exiled without the utensils for survival to Siberia where there was no infrastructure. Why was all this done? Because the people that came into power and the monarchs were shot, the Romanov family. Rich people were dispossessed and all their things were given to the state. And so, this caused concern to my relatives. They were all Russian. They had their homes, their cattle, and their gardens. They lived well because they constantly worked, providing themselves with food and everything necessary. Once an unknown woman gave them her child as a baby. The boy was a Tatar. Because of his skin was dark, my relatives sheltered him, raised him, and he helped them around the house. It was like their own child. Our other relative, who didn't live well, envied them. And at the general meeting, she said that her relative lived richly that they even kept a slave in their house. In the general meeting, it was decided to banish my relatives to Siberia. They were told to collect their things, and they were promised that they would be put on a train and will suffer no accidents. When they came to a station, they took all their things away, put them in a freight car during winter, and the train went to an unknown direction. They drove a few days almost without food or heat. And then my relative realized what a mistake she had made. She didn't know what was done to them, if they were even alive. Later on, her tortured conscience, from the excess of guilt because of her own relatives, drove her to hang herself. This story shows that this social contract has a negative character, because my relatives were not given a choice to stay in their native lands or go to an unknown area. The social contract was compulsory, and my relative decided to go on the path of justice as she thought, but it was quite the opposite.
Good morning. For me, social contracts are very important things in lives of ordinary people. They help us live in structured society and be more polite to everybody. Every day we face some social contracts in our daily activity, such things as quiz and politeness in some public places, respect for elders and respect for all people. But sometimes you understand how it is incredible to have these social contracts. Once I was strolling with my best friend in a crowded place and things went wrong. I fell down a trap door with one foot. It was so much blood there. I was really shocked and I was crying hard. But as is customary in our society, different people, including my friend, some busy persons, and even children tried to help me. Pedestrians asked, "Everything is okay. Do you need some help?" Somebody called the ambulance. Somebody tried to stop the bleeding, and after the ambulance took me to the hospital, some people in the emergency room let me enter the doctor's office out of turn because they understood that it was really serious trauma. I was really surprised and didn't expect what so many people would help me. This situation showed me that the social contract, help your neighbor, is working in our society. After that accident, I should wear some kind of gypsum, and my movements were limited. I couldn't step on my foot, and I should go to the school. And every time when to the crowded public transportation, people always gave me their seats. In that moment, I thought that we were all equal, but sometimes you should give up your conveniences to help somebody. Of course, some people don't want to participate in these social contracts, but they think that they are the best people in the entire world, and everybody should obey them or pray for them. But this is just a character trait. The most part of Russian residents are kind and fair, and we realize that social contracts are central. There are some unfair and stereotypical social contracts in our society, but in the near future, I think they will be destroyed and obsolete, and people will have more new, fair, and useful contracts.
My name is Carla Flores, and I am reading a story by Lilia. Nowadays, social contract plays a great role in modern-day world. It affects almost every sphere of our lives. The social contract can be inclined to simple rules of etiquette. Also, it is the most fundamental source of all that is good and that which we depend upon to live well. A good example of a social contract is the Constitution of our countries. In my life, social contract also plays an important role. Unfortunately, I can't give a certain example, but in general, there are some things that allow me to feel myself more confident. For example, I'm sure that if I pay the wrong amount in the store, nobody will beat me with fists until clarification of the circumstances. Or no one of my groupmate will interrupt me while I express my point of view. If I go to the forest for mushrooms with a special knife, I know that nobody who came to the forest with the same aim as me will attack me with his own knife. Of course, everything in this world has its own drawbacks. Thus, according to social contract in ancient Russia, rich people could own, sell, and buy peasants. In the USA, almost the same situation could be observed in slavery. Moreover, in modern Russia, according to the social contract, discrimination towards some group of people is still visible. These are disabled people, LGBT representatives, people with changed appearance, people from Eastern countries, etc. Our society has strong opinions about your working and volunteering abilities if you belong to some of the above mentioned categories. However, this part of the social contract cannot be attributed to the etiquette or generally accepted rules. This may be prone to the worldview gap. Another drawback is that some people understand social contract in different ways, which is close to their lifestyles. Such cases may include people with deviant behavior. Sometimes circumstances that seem normal to them are completely unacceptable to others. So it is stratification of concepts. Thus, we should behave in an appropriate manner so as not to destroy the picture of civil society, as this is very important for each of us.
Hi, my name is Ruby Garcia, and I'm gonna read a story by Dimitri. According to the classical definition, social contract is an actual or hypothetical agreement between the rule and the rulers, defining the rights and duties of each. However, this phenomenon appears not only in our interaction with the authorities, but also, for example, in the teacher-student relationship. The latter, as a student myself, I encounter the most, and that's exactly why I want to talk about this very side of the phenomenon. As I have to deal with it every day, I can choose only one, the most remarkable case I would like to share. Thus, I guess the original topic, a time when social contract was at play in your life, falls here to the ground, as I am going to tell you about the social contract between students and teachers in general, what place it takes in my life and how it affects my classmates and me in particular. First of all, how does this form of social contract manifest itself here in a classroom? Well, let us imagine a typical situation, a room full of students and a professor lecturing them. None of the students dare to interrupt the teacher for no reason or to start chatting with each other. Why? Everyone in the room understands what they came for and what they can benefit from the lecture. Teacher can get his money for the work done, students a helpful knowledge they could use in the future. This simplest example demonstrates the central idea of social contract. People give part of their freedoms in order to get something valuable instead. Second, how does social contract affect me and what place does it take in my life? Well, as a student and therefore a contractor of such agreement, have also to surrender part of my freedoms, like freely talk to my friends whenever I want. And that's how it affects me. I can just quit the class during the lesson or skip the classes without a good excuse. Accepting these rules, I may demand a teacher to provide his part of the deal. In conclusion of this story, which looks more like an essay, I would like to note the importance of social contract in our daily life. It helps people to find common grounds, come to agreements, and to avoid unnecessary conflict and violence.
Hello, my name is Agil, and I'm going to read a story written by Arena Novitskaya. Man is born free, but he is everywhere in chains. Imagine the world without rules. Nothing is illegal or prohibited. Everyone can do anything. It might sound like the utopia, but actually in such a world, you have got your freedom, but you don't have any security. So there is a point that there are more benefits in cooperating than in not cooperating. So how do people live in peace and play a particular part in society? We should thank the social contract for this great opportunity. If we do what we are expected to do, the whole system works perfectly. Nowadays, we don't have to discuss this thing a lot because we have been taught certain behaviors since childhood. The social contract takes a huge place in everyday's life. According to Rousseau, individuals bind themselves to a larger community and make contracts to solve problems naturally. From my point of view, such a contract exists in everyone's life. Everyone has got moral obligations they have to follow. For instance, kids follow such moral rules. When I was 5, one of my kids in my kindergarten stole my favorite toy. I was really upset about it. Next day, this guy returned the toy to me and apologized. Even at such a young age, we can understand our responsibilities. I guess that nobody will punish that child for taking my toy because it was a common thing there. But after that incident, we talked and decided to exchange our toys. It's a simple example of cooperation between people which is impossible in a state of nature. Rousseau believed that in the universal set of laws and justice systems was set by God. I agree with this point because we all have got the same vision of acceptable behavior. It's obvious that it's bad to steal, not only because of the law, but because of our honesty. To sum up, I believe that there is no peace and unity without the social contract. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Madison. I will be reading a story by email. Nowadays, a usual example of social contract will be lending money to somebody. Naturally, if someone needs money ASAP, he may borrow money from one of his acquaintances or friends and is expected to pay it back on time. I do not personally get into such trouble, but my friends often do. And they asked me to lend them money, especially in school and when I was in the Army. Out of the kindness, I usually gave them the money. Some people would pay me back, some people wouldn't. When I do get my money back, I ask myself, why am I giving money to people that won't pay me back? When I do get my money back, I ask myself, what's in it for me? Even if I get paid back, I did not gain anything. So I literally had risked my money for no reason. That's what I thought when I was a materialist. When I was in junior school, I had a friend who owed me over 1,000 rubles. At this point, it would only cost about $33. I waited for 4 months for him to pay me back, but he never did. I had been patient with him because he was my friend. But in the end, I saw that reminding him of the money kept hurting our friendship. And I had to choose what I valued more, a friendship or the money I had lost. I had found a solution. When his birthday came around, I decided to forgive him and give him the money as my birthday gift to him. He was grateful and thought it was kind of me, but it was not for kindness that I had given him the money. I just did not feel like buying a gift for somebody who owed me money. Although later that person became my best friend. However, from that point onward, I did not lend any money to anybody. Because there was literally nothing to gain, or so I thought. Just because you hold your side of the deal does not mean the others will. There is often a saying, it takes two to tango, that I learned later in life from a coach. It means if you are not willing to dance the dance, Basically, any social contract can be aborted at any time by any side. Especially if it was unofficial, meaning if I were to lend money to some guy on the street and he does not pay me back, there will be nothing I can do about it. Even if you find him and you beat him up, if he is smart, he is just going to claim that he does not know you, and in addition to that, he can accuse you of assaulting him. That reason alone is there is no reason to guarantee that your money comes back to you. That is the exact reason why I stopped lending money. I guess I learned it the hard way. However, if that social contract was official, it would have a whole different story. If a guy took a loan from the bank and later failed to pay it back, he would get into big trouble and end up going to jail. So the government in that regard is needed to make sure that every side upholds their part of the deal. Without government, there is no responsibility. Without responsibility, there can be no trust. Nowadays, I only lend money to those that are close to me and those who I want to check if they are true to their word. And I only give the amount of money which I am not afraid to lose.
My name is Destiny, and I'll be reading a story by Vlad. The first thing to remember about the social contract is that it helps us to communicate more politely and progressively. As you know, we are free people, which means that each of us have a plant of rights and freedoms. But the social contract is a tool for waiting for certain rights in favor of others for various reasons. And I want to show you an example to confirm my opinion and my idea of the social contract. I am a very energetic person. That's why I always went to take dance classes, but I never had the time to do it. 9 years ago, I asked my mom, and she hasn't been against it. When we drove up to the dance section, my mom saw the sign at the English Academy. She asked me if we could come in just to see it. At the time, I had some problems with English. As a result, I didn't go to the dance class, but my parents sent me to the English school. But look at me now. I know English well. As a result, I have the opportunity to travel and understand people in different countries. I know their culture. I can watch how they live. In my childhood, I didn't really want to do it, but now my life is closely connected with English, and I am thrilled about it. My parents helped me to open the window to a new world because of English. The social contract plays a certain role in my life.
Hello, my name is Alejandra Molina, and I will be reading a story by Eugenia. I've never thought about the thing that is called social contract. So to be more involved in this theme, I decided to research more information about it. During my little exploration, I discovered the definition, the social contract theory, briefly. Society is controlled by governments. This is the starting point. Living in society, however, requires rules and laws. Societies are the result of compromises, and social contracts provide the framework for how people and governments interact. I really don't know how right I am, but I led out the conclusion that one person's freedom ends when another's freedom begins. So when you break up this conception of governments come to you, try to cope with situations you've faced. So relying on the statement that I've concluded, I like to tell this story, which is, as I think can be connected with. It was Saturday about 2 years ago, and I was alone at home, and I just didn't know what to do. I was sitting on the sofa. Suddenly, my eyes fell on the synthesizer, which was dusting in the corner of the room. I hadn't played it so long, so I thought the decision was accepted immediately. Quickly, I hooked up the music instrument and started playing it. I was so passionate that I didn't notice how loudly I was playing. I knew that I had neighbors who didn't like noise, and they always talking me to be quiet, and don't listen to music in the afternoon. But in this day, I'd not remembered about their words. But the doorbell, I was so pulled away from the playing. I thought my parents came back, and without hesitation I opened the door. Unfortunately, there weren't my parents. There was a policeman. A chill ran down my back. What had happened? I asked myself. Good afternoon. Your neighbors received a complaint about noise. What are you doing? Is someone else in the apartment? He asked. There isn't anybody except me. I'm just playing on the piano. I tried to answer as confident as possible, as I realized I was playing too loudly. If you can play too loud, you'll have problems. I advise you to be quieter, he told me. Okay, I see, I said with exhalation. Leaving, he said, goodbye, I hope we never see each other again. I'm so sorry, goodbye, relieved I said. After his leaving, I sat on the chair and started to think about all the situation. I decided that I was wrong because I thought only about my feelings and never mind about feelings in other people. This experience made me less selfish and more understanding. Also, I realized that people create morals and code of conduct not intentionally because it helps us to live in harmony, to feel everyone and finally be happy. For conclusion, I like to say that social contract is really good and important thing in our life, which always remembers us that we are brainy creatures and we must understand what we do, what is good and what is bad in order to live happy. Moreover, I like to tell that I'm so excited to be involved in this project because, in my opinion, this type of co-working helps broaden our horizons and learn something new. Because as I said, I've never thought about this theme, but now I align myself in it because it's just starting and think will be more and more interesting. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sean. I'm reading a story written by Alina. I will tell you about my responsibility in society. I live in a dormitory that is placed in the city where I'm studying now. And as you know, the student must comply with the rules of the residents and obey the rules that are written by the leadership, such as don't drink alcohol, do not smoke, and keep the room clean. And I want to share with you an example from my life that can serve as a lesson. One day late at night, a guy was smoking in a public toilet in a dormitory. According to the law in Russia, smoking in public places is strictly prohibited, and especially in a student dormitory. Unfortunately for this guy, he was seen by the doorman who was on duty that night, and the consequences for the guy were very bad. He was not evicted from the dormitory, but he was given a stern warning. This warning means that if the next time a guy breaks the rules of the dormitory, he will be evicted, and he will not have the right to live in the dormitory. In this case, the guy broke the social contract. When he had settled in the dormitory, he understood and knew that he should be responsible for social environment. First and foremost, we must comply with morality and respect society, and only then think about yourself and your needs. This story from my life served me as an example of responsibility to society, and that it is important to follow the rules. If you break them, it is bad to reflect not only on yourself, but also on other people. If we compare the rules of conduct in my country and Russia, then in Kazakhstan everything was stricter. Boys and girls lived on different floors, and in Russia everyone lives on the same floor. Also in Kazakhstan, it was impossible to return to the hostel late at night, and in Russia it is possible to return a little later. I believe that conditions in Russia are much better conditions because we are students and I want to live a little freely, and in Kazakhstan it is difficult to feel free.
Hi, my name is James Temple. I'm going to read a story by Corlan Bola. I support the social contract and I treat it positively. I believe that each person should be responsible for his or her actions, and for the sake of the public, they should refrain from any of their own desires. I believe that it is necessary to carry out work in order to introduce the theory of social contract into the human subconscious and distribute it. Society must reach such a level that a person will adhere to the theory of social contract, not only because of fear of the law, but because he or she themselves realize the need for this theory. Then the number of crimes in the world will be reduced, and the standard of living for all people in society will improve. That's all she wrote. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sadowov. Thank you, students at Bashkir State University. Thank you for your stories, and thank you for reading our stories. Thank you.